All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We're, started December, almost at the end. And so we appreciate you guys setting some time aside for us. We know it's a very busy time of the year, so we'll try to make this as valuable as possible. We'll do some quick introductions. We'll go through the PowerSchool wheel as we have a new updated one with the SchoolMessenger acquisition. Jump into the SchoolMessenger webinar itself, demo everything, talk about some exciting stuff coming out too early next year. We'll save some time for questions at the end. If you guys want, I ask stay muted. You can stop camera too. You can put questions in the chat if you like. I will try to answer them. If I can't answer them, we'll save some time at the end and Julie can go through them. Or we'll follow up with you directly if we have to check with the SchoolMessenger team too as well. And then we'll discuss next steps. So as we go through this, my name is Lucas Rodriguez. I'm a sales account director, work in a few states. You've probably got invites from my team in the Southeast team, Reed Mills, Ali Krasinski, Lindsay McCutcheon, Diane Thielen, Ryan Lucky, and then that's our team. And then very excited to have Julie Yoon on the call. She is our solution engineer. She will be the one doing most of the talking after I stop rambling. So that's our team. Again, probably recognize some states. You will hear from your account manager after this, and I'll talk about next steps at the very end too as well. All right, so at PowerSchool, we really want to accomplish one thing for your guys' schools and districts, and that's try to simplify your EdTech solutions as much as possible. That's our biggest goal. Bring this all under one umbrella, make it as easy as possible for your data to flow between products, or even from a support side, if you only have to reach out to one company to get support and help on that, that's our goal. So we continue to expand, and we do this through acquisition as well as developing out some of our own products, everything from our student information cloud, which most of you probably have our SIS, but if you don't have, that's totally fine too as well. SchoolMessenger does work with a multitude of student information systems. We have our personalized learning cloud, our student success cloud, college and career readiness, educator effectiveness. So even on the talent and HR side, we have software to help with that. We want to circle that all with PowerSchool Analytics Insights, and then our communication piece. So this very outside wheel is the new piece that we have through SchoolMessenger. SchoolMessenger's primary software is the communication module, and then they have add-ons like Communicate, Safe Arrival, Chat, Permission Click, and then even My PowerSchool, which will work with your student information system, PowerSchool SIS, and we'll talk about that at the end. So with all that being said, I will kick it over to Julie and we'll dive into the demo. Again, please stay off mute. Put your questions in the chat if you like, and then we'll also have some time at the end for questions.
All right, perfect. Thanks so much, Lucas. So hi, everybody. It's nice to meet you virtually. As Lucas mentioned, my name is Julie. I'm one of the solution engineers here at PowerSchool. And as we go through and we start thinking about SchoolMessenger, how it is that, as a school or as a district, we're going to be able to start communicating with our families. Well, what's really the big driving factor, I should say, when it comes to engaging with our families? And really, it's because that engaged family helps to support those student outcomes. So it's been shown that parental and familial involvement improves those overall attendance and grades for your students. And so that's really the goal with PowerSchool, is to help drive that student's education. And really, the SchoolMessenger piece helps to engage those families, help them to understand what's happening with their student or at their school or at the district. And we're going to be looking at some of that today. Now, when we are going through this, we're going to be hitting this from the administrative side initially. So how is it that we can go ahead and send a broadcast? How is it that we can manage those recipients? So who exactly is going to be receiving that? And of course, reporting on the success of our campaigns. So how can we see, how many phone calls were sent out, how many times that phone was answered, or how many times it went to voicemail, text messages being sent, as well as emails being sent. From there, we're going to switch gears and we'll take a look at that parent perspective. So both from the web portal as well as from the mobile app itself. And then I know that Lucas had talked about that My PowerSchool solution. That's something that we'll take a look at the very end. So for those of our districts and schools on the call who are using PowerSchool SIS, how is it that we can go ahead and start bringing everything under one umbrella for our families. And we're going to be taking a kind of a sneak peek at that My PowerSchool solution. So with that, let's go ahead and start on that administrative side. Now, we're going to actually look at this initially through the lens of our admins who are using the PowerSchool student information system. Now, as Lucas had pointed out, this is something where it is SIS agnostic when it comes to SchoolMessenger. I'm going to show it here first, just for those of our districts on the call or schools on the call where they are using PowerSchool SIS. Well, how can we go ahead right inside of the SIS and actually send out those communications? So when I'm looking at this, hopefully for those of our SIS customers on the call, this will look relatively familiar to you all. And this is something where, as you all may know, right, I've got the ability to go ahead and search for students based upon a variety of factors. In my case here, I want to go ahead and send communications out to those families of my math leads. So this might be something where, I want to send a quick reminder. We might be leaving early for our tournament. It could be to bring some snacks for our end of the year party, like whatever the case might be. What this allows me to do inside of the PowerSchool SIS is not only, of course, find that group or set of students, but then to send those communications out. So this might be something that I want to go ahead and create. I wanted to send only to maybe my guardians or to the students and the guardians. It's really up to me as far as how exactly I want this communication to go out. And more importantly as well, what do I want it to say? So I can go ahead and tailor each of these different areas. So if I want to just send out a phone call or send out a text message, at the same time, if it's something where I want to send it via email, this allows me to go through and just kind of indicate those different areas. And at the same time, if I wanted to say recreate or have something that's already saved that I know I want to run over and over again, we can just pull it in like I did. And at the same time, when this is going out to my families, I can go ahead, I can preview this information. It can be in multiple languages as well. So this just really makes it easy for me to go ahead and communicate out, engaging my families. And when I'm ready, I can go through and send this message. Now, at the same time, not everybody on the call is necessarily a PowerSchool SIS customer. So how is it that you can go ahead and leverage SchoolMessenger when it comes to sending those communications or those broadcasts out to your families? So what I'm looking at now is that SchoolMessenger platform. Naturally, for our PowerSchool SIS customers, you can certainly go ahead and access this as well. But when I go to send a broadcast, one of the big things is that this will allow me to go through and actually start indicating those different areas as necessary. So very similar to what we had talked about before, where I can go ahead and kind of create my commentary, create my specific message for my families. When I do that, it's going to be something where I can identify not only, what I want to go ahead and send out, but at the same time, I can specify who should be receiving it, what that message should look like. So in my case here, I've already started a communication. This, of course, will go ahead and save each step of the process. So as an administrator, if I'm going through and creating something, I, of course, get pulled away halfway through creating the message. I can pick up right where I left off. So it does make it very easy for me. I don't have to worry about consciously thinking of saving this information. At the same time, I can choose what kind of broadcast message is this? Is it something where I'm just sending some general information out? Is it something where it's, hey, it's an emergency? Maybe we've got a school closing because of snow or because of weather. This allows us to go ahead and indicate that in order to make sure that those messages are sent out appropriately. At the same time as well, naturally, I may have, seniors who have the same parents or same guardians. I want to go ahead and make sure that each person's only receiving that message once. So it does allow me to do things like skip duplicates. So if I've got a parent who is, got twins or triplets at our 12th grade class, they're only going to receive that one communication versus having to receive multiple communications. Now, at the same time, when I am thinking about this, as mentioned, I'm able to go ahead and indicate who I want to have receive this message. So in this case, it might be a a list or set of lists that I may have already created. So if we think about how we initially did that creation on the SIS side of the house where I had my mathletes, same kind of concept, right? Where I might want to go ahead and indicate, hey, it's for the seniors specifically, or it's, all of my parents, or it's for a particular subset of my families. At the same time as well, maybe I've got a class or a section of classes where that teacher is going to be out on extended leave. I can go ahead and send communications to those families, parents or guardians, those students as well, to let them know, hey, we're going to be, having a long-term substitute. Here's that person's information, whatever the case might be. And again, the idea here is for me to be able to not only have those lists or ability to kind of filter down really quickly, but at the same time, if I want to or need to, I may want to go ahead and create some information on the fly. So in this case here, if I'm looking specifically at my 12th graders, right, I can go ahead, I can start paring this down in order to only send this communication out to those 12th graders. And I can continue to kind of reduce the number of students this is going out to, really based upon, those different fields that I've got access to. At the same time, much like we talked about initially, if I wanted this to just go out to my parents or guardians of these students versus the students themselves, this allows me to go ahead and indicate that very easily. So I'm really able to control kind of who is going to receive this information or who should or should not receive this information. All right, so the last kind of step here is when I am thinking about this, right? I want to make sure not only can I kind of indicate who this message is getting sent out to, but what kind of message is it that we want to go ahead and send. Now, I've gone through and actually just added in my newsletter. So one of the big things with SchoolMessenger, depending upon how it is that we want to send these communications out, in this case, I maybe have a newsletter that we're going through and creating, and we're sending out every single Friday. This allows me to go ahead, leverage the tools inside of SchoolMessenger to build this out and send it out to my families. At the same time as well, if I wanted to, right, I could go ahead and actually just send out specific communications for my families that don't involve a newsletter. So this again allows me the ability to go through and kind of indicate what I do or do not want to have included as a part of this. And you'll also notice that depending upon this information and depending upon the groups of people that I'm sending communications out to, if I've got other languages, so in other words, not everybody at my district, their parents may not necessarily have English as their primary language. This does do that automatic translation for me. So that way, I've got my English speaking families, my Spanish speaking, my Portuguese speaking families, whatever the case might be. This allows me to go ahead, create the message once, and it'll take care of that translation for me. At the same time, if I choose to send this via email, text message, phone calls home, of course, these are all things that it'll allow me to go ahead and accomplish through the SchoolMessenger solution. And when I'm ready, of course, as soon as I'm done, right, I can go ahead, I can look at this, I can see exactly what it is that my parents are going to go through and view. I can send this to myself. So if I just wanted to kind of get that double check, that visual done, this allows me to go ahead and do that before I send it out to, my 1,300 folks or individuals. I can go ahead and schedule this for a later date or time. So if I'm preparing our newsletter for Friday, I want to get it done today, but I want it sent out on Friday. This allows me the ability to go ahead and just complete this when it makes sense for me to schedule that actual delivery on out. And lastly, of course, I can go ahead and just send it right away. So really depending upon what communications I want to go ahead and create, how I want those to land, as well as what methods of delivery I want to go ahead and include, this really gives me a lot of capabilities and flexibility when it comes to actually sending those communications on out. Now, after my communications are done, right, I've sent out messages to my families. I want to make sure that I can understand kind of what was that success rate looking like. So SchoolMessenger also gives me the visibility when it comes to understanding like how my communications or my campaign actually went, how it was received by those third-party individuals, so whether they're parents, students, or guardians. And at the same time, I'm looking right now at our early dismissal broadcast that we had sent to let families know that, hey, we've got an early dismissal tomorrow. I can see not only a general overview, but also dive into those additional details if I wanted to understand, hey, what was that SMS rate looking like? Were they delivered successfully? What does that information look like? Now, certainly with this, I, of course, can dive into additional details around this, but this really gives you that kind of general overview or understanding of how SchoolMessenger operates from that admin perspective. So I'm going to take a quick pause here. Lucas, I'm not sure if there were any questions coming through in the chat, anything that we wanted to go ahead and answer right now before we go ahead and look at that parent side of the house.
Yeah, the only question so far has been, can School Messenger send communications to staff as well?
Yes, so you can. So one of the big pieces is when we're talking about SchoolMessenger, it does allow you to not only communicate to your parents and guardians, as well as students, but also to your staff as well. And so that is an option to be able to go ahead and pull and communicate out to staff members, so teachers, any other staff or faculty within the school or district, being able to blast those communications out. And of course, it would be the same steps as far as defining what information you want to send on out. The only difference is who would be receiving that communication.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Julie. And then one last question too, and I think this is another yes. Can staff access School Messenger to send messages?
Yes. So depending again upon, which student information system you are using, if we're talking PowerSchool, like we saw in the beginning, as long as the person has permission to access it, they're going to be able to go ahead and do that. On the teacher side, same kind of concept, where if you want your teachers to be able to go ahead, if you're using PowerSchool SIS, to be able to go through and send out communications, they would be able to access it right from their teacher portal as well. Now, obviously, if you're using a different student information system outside of PowerSchool, you'd be able to still access SchoolMessenger through the web, right? So it's just going to be a site that you're going to go to, log in with your credentials, and obviously it's just going to be dependent upon who within your school or district has access and is able to send those communications on out.
Perfect. Thanks, Julie. Yep, that's all we got right now. Thanks everybody for the
All right.
questions. Keep them coming in the chat.
Perfect. So with that, right, we talked a lot around that admin side of the house. So not only kind of what does this look like when we're using PowerSchool SIS when it comes to actually sending out communications or messages to our end users, but also how is it that we can manage those recipients and send out messages if we're not using PowerSchool SIS. At the same time as well, being able to pull those different reports to understand how successful was our campaign. In the case of, communications that are sent via email, if I wanted to say attach that newsletter like we had seen a little bit earlier, it's something where when I send those communications on out via email, it'll actually track for me not only when that communication was viewed, but also if I've got a link, if that link was clicked on. So if we're, say, selling prom tickets, right, this is something where it will allow our end users to not only have links accessible inside of those emails, but again, tracking that information also. So with that, let's go ahead and we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to now look at this through the eyes of those parents. So as a parent or as a guardian of a student at a school or district that's leveraging SchoolMessenger, how is it that I can go ahead and actually access these different communications that are coming at me? Now, naturally, of course, we're going to look at it two ways. First, through the actual web portal itself. And then secondly, we'll look at it through the mobile app. Now, when we're talking about the web portal, right, as a parent, I'm logging into SchoolMessenger. I'm able to go ahead and see any of these communications that have gone out to me, or any of my students that might be at that school or district. And you'll notice that in the web version, not only can I see the email, right, but I can also go ahead, I can listen to that voice message. So let's say that the building level principal recorded a message. It's going to be something that I'll be able to go ahead and actually listen to right through the actual app itself. And then lastly, the text message. Now, naturally, of course, these will actually land on that parent's phone as well. But this is just for those people who might be at work where they don't have access to their phone, but they can access the SchoolMessenger landing site. This will allow them to go ahead and see those messages while they're doing their daily tasks at work. Now, at the same time, as a parent, right, I don't necessarily need to be sitting on my computer in order to access information. So this is something where if we're doing phone calls, if we're doing text messages, if we're doing emails, those will land in the natural spots on my phone itself, right? But I also have access to the SchoolMessenger app. So the exact same kind of concept where I can go ahead, I can look at that early dismissal information. I can see that this one is tied to Daryl, and I can go through and actually look at, not only the email that was sent to me, voicemail, text message, and this is also going to be available in like iMessage, in my Gmail, whatever the case might be. Now, the other part that I do want to go ahead and talk about, I know that Lucas had mentioned in the beginning when we were talking about the wheel, right? The communication aspect lays over top of it. Well, this is something where as a parent, if I wanted to be able to go ahead and submit that my student's going to be out for the day, or maybe they're going to be out for the rest of the week because they have the flu, right? This gives me the ability to go ahead and report those absences right from my phone. So for my student, Daryl's going to be gone for multiple days this week. And the reason being is because he's actually homesick. He's got the flu. He definitely will not be better by the end of the day. We went and visited the doctor yesterday. The doctor said, hey, keep him home. And this gives me as a parent the ability to not just type in what the reasoning is, but in the case of a doctor's note, right? This is my very good attempt at a doctor's note on my notepad, but this gives me the ability to go ahead and actually add that attachment. So if I had a true doctor's note for my student, I could attach that, go ahead and send this on into the school. So this way, what they're going to see is the exact reason that Daryl was out. Now, at the same time, when we are thinking about this, right, this is something where as a parent, I've completed that on my phone. I know my daughter, she plays with my phone a lot. It's something where as she gets older, may get a little bit wiser when it comes to being able to send communications out or mark herself out absent. The fail-safe for this is it'll also send that parent an email of, hey, you've marked your student out. So that way, as a parent, I'm always aware I'll be the one doing this, but in the off chance that my student gets a hold of it, right? We're still going to be okay. We're still going to go ahead and know that I, as a parent, did or did not mark that student absent. I'm going to get those communications right to my inbox. All right, I'm going to take a quick pause here. Lucas, other questions that we want to go ahead and have answered before we move back on into the last spot, which is the admin side for safe arrival?
Nothing yet. It looks like there was one question on how admins see the parent communications. I think we might be getting into that shortly from the admin side.
Yep.
All
So
right.
when a parent marks out a student as absent, yes, we are just about to take a look at that. So on that note, let's go ahead and actually look at that from the eyes of an administrator. So my parents, they've gone through, they've marked their students out as absent, right? This is going to be an area where it's really easy for me to see and understand who has submitted information, what that's looking like. If we have any attachments in here, these are all things that we're going to be able to go ahead and see very easily. When
Julie,
it,
sorry to interrupt. You might
oh,
be showing the camera screen still. Perfect. Thank you.
okay. All
Now
right,
we're good.
perfect. No, thank you. Okay, so as I was saying, this is the landing page, right? So when it is that my parents are going through, they're submitting their, attendance to me, this is really where all that information is going to live for me as that administrator. Now, at the same time, if I've got a student where, the parent has gone through and submitted an attachment of any type, I'll be able to go ahead and see that in here as well. And on the at the same time, when we are thinking about this, especially for those of our schools that are PowerSchool SIS customers, as your teachers or the office is updating attendance, this is going to go ahead and pull that information in here for us as well. So as a parent, if my student has been marked absent and it triggers in my mind, oh shoot, that's right, I forgot to mark out that Daryl's going to be sick today. This is something where I can go ahead, I can see that from my parent perspective, just like we talked about. And it's going to allow me to go through and submit or update the reasoning why my student was marked as absent. Now, at the same time as well, when we are thinking about this is something also where it will go ahead and for those PowerSchool SIS customers, it's going to push this information back in to the SIS itself. Now, obviously, when it comes to our parents and the different codes that they have access to from their parent side when it comes to attendance, that's based on what you want to provide to them. At the same time as well, it'll be something that we crosswalk back to your instance of the SIS, because as a parent, I might mark, you know, my students out on vacation, and that has a very different code inside of your instance of the SIS as far as how that's tracked versus me marking my student being out sick. So it does give you the ability to give a pared down version and view to the parents while tying it back into the ones that make sense to you based upon how you're tracking attendance inside of your instance of PowerSchool. Now, when we are thinking about this as well, when it comes to that attendance side, right, this is something where I'll be able to go ahead and also report anything. So if I'm, kind of working in the front office, I've got parents calling in, whatever it might be, I can easily add in those additional absenteeisms as necessary. And lastly, if I wanted to be able to look at this information, not just for today, but maybe this week or this month, this is something where I can go ahead and have those different views in order to understand any kind of trends that might be happening or get some additional details around this as well. All right, so we covered quite a bit. I do want to, again, Lucas, I'm going to take a quick pause here since we may have some additional questions when it comes to the absence management side for safe arrival. But any questions before we go ahead and take a sneak peek at what's to come with our PowerSchool parent perspective?
Nothing right now. I mean, most of the questions are actually about what our sneak peek is going to be in
Ooh.
terms of the parent perspective. So yeah, we're getting the hype there. I'm very excited about it too. It's something that's going to be very simple and a lot easier for your parents. So I mean, without further ado, Julie,
Yeah.
I'll let you show it.
Perfect. So before I do, we just hit on the last couple of pieces, which is really that parent perspective for both the web portal as well as that mobile app. And then last, we wrapped with that safe arrival aspect. So parents being able to go through and update attendance information and things like that. So for our PowerSchool customers, the big thing that's going to be coming down from PowerSchool is the My PowerSchool portal. So really what that means for your parents and guardians is when you as a school or as a district are using multiple PowerSchool products, as of today, right, one of the big things is that parents would have to log into multiple locations. So what this does is it helps to bring everything together. So when we're thinking about this for me as a parent, right, my student Daryl, if I've got multiple students, go to a district or a school, this is something where I can go ahead and I can see not just things from the SIS coming out to me, so my schedule, the actual grades that my student is receiving, but I'm also going to be able to go ahead and see things from other PowerSchool solutions. So that wheel that Lucas had talked about in the beginning, this will pull in information from Schoology. So I can see the different assignments that are tied into Schoology, and they're coming right into the My PowerSchool portal for me as a parent to be able to go ahead and see and understand those different assignments. You'll notice also on my dashboard, I've got things tied into attendance. I've got different forms that may be coming over as well. So whether they're school or district forms, if they're coming from a teacher, these are all going to go ahead and show up in here for me. And then also things tied to fees. The other big piece to make mention of is the fact that with my PowerSchool, obviously SchoolMessenger is our latest and greatest solution to join the PowerSchool family. We are going to be able to go ahead, and our team is actually working toward this, to be able to show that kind of parent experience for SchoolMessenger right inside of my PowerSchool. So that way, as a parent, I don't have to worry about going to a different place or having a different app available. Instead, I log into my PowerSchool and it's going to go ahead and show me those different communications, whether they're emergency broadcasts or just general notifications of seniors night or a mathletes tournament, whatever the case might be. all of that's going to land in one space. You'll notice also that inside of my instance of my PowerSchool, I'll be able to go ahead and see these areas. So if I need to get more information around, say, assignments or more information around attendance for my student, it's all available right here. And naturally, of course, we're going to continue to build out our solutions to be included inside of my PowerSchool. So on the docket, we have things like Naviance set to be pulled into this, as well as you'll see here fees. So this is something as well for a lot of our customers, being able to centralize that and have it in one location and to be able to not only display those fees that are being tied to students' records, but for them to actually be able to go right through the My PowerSchool portal and actually pay for those fees as well. So this is, again, something that's to come. It's something that I know internally we're all very excited about it because I mean, from PowerSchool way back when I started, from the very first acquisition of InfoSnap 8+ years ago, this is something that we've been marching toward very steadily for the last eight or so years. And so it's very exciting to see it come to fruition. So that was a sneak peek. Any other questions for me, Lucas? I know that you wanted to go ahead and cover those next steps, but anything else that we need to answer before I turn it back over to you?
Awesome. Thank you, Julian. Very excited about that. Yeah, if anybody wants to throw any last questions in the chat, the main thing with my PowerSchool, just so as everybody's aware, it's in final beta right now with about a dozen districts across the country. So we should have it released early 2024, hopefully January, February. Most likely my team and I will be doing another webinar on this. So if you guys want to keep an eye out for that communication early in the year, we'll invite you to that and we'll get a deeper dive into it once it's available for everybody. In the meantime, SchoolMessenger is ready to go right now. One thing I always like to call out about SchoolMessenger too as well is, new to the PowerSchool family in terms of acquisition. However, it's been a preferred partner for well over 8 to 10 years. And so we've been integrating with SchoolMessenger already for a long time. So a lot of these integrations have already been available. It's not like something that's brand new. We're just trying to enhance that experience overall. And then one last question. Can you
I'm reading
paste?
that right
Oh,
now.
yeah.
I was actually going to ask Ian, which student information system is it that you're using? You can feel free to either come off of mute or send it in the chat.
Yeah. PowerSchool SIS.
Okay.
Our current solution already can parse report cards, and we want to maintain that functionality.
You said your current solution?
Yeah, we have a messenger that sends emails for us that is also integrated in PowerSchool.
Okay.
We're looking at this as a potential thing to transfer over to.
Sure.
It can already parse the report cards that we produce in PowerSchool, which is very helpful. We wanted to know if this could do that as well.
Yeah, and so this is something where, yes, you would continue to maintain that functionality, and your account manager would be able to go ahead and, I mean, I would recommend probably scheduling another kind of view into it specifically around that functionality, just to make sure that, you're getting that feature parity when you do move over, so that you can see all the goodness that SchoolMessenger and PowerSchool bring together.
I also have another question with that. We used to use Naviance, and when PowerSchool purchased it, the price went up quite significantly from when it was originally purchased. So we actually dropped it, which actually took quite a large amount of time and problems with PowerSchool support. But the other question is, the main question is with this is the costing of this. At no point, I know that you're not the salespeople, but costing, there must be a standardized rough costing of what something like this would be per student.
Yes, so that's a great question. And for next steps, what I will do after this is once Zoom populates this webinar for me, I will make sure everybody gets a recording. We can schedule a follow-up meeting, and we can also get you guys pricing on that. To your point, it is a price per student like much PowerSchool products. We have different tiers for that. We also have promotions going on for December too as well, and we can cover all of that. And if you guys have any further product questions too as well, that's a great time to ask that. So we'll definitely get you over the recording, and we can discuss all the pricing options for each school, because each school is different in terms of your size. All right, perfect. There was one other question in the chat. I will make sure, Lynn, I follow up with you on that one. That was a very good question. And then Brent, I'll follow up with you too as well, and we'll make sure we get everything for you guys and answered there. Again, if you have any further questions, please let me know. You'll hear from your rep probably within 24 hours. Again, I have to get this populated from Zoom, but we'll get that sent over to you guys. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Julie. Finished pretty early, so I know we took some time for a full hour, but never hurts to just have a quick 40-minute meeting. So Julie, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for coming. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to everybody very soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.